one of the biggest question marks for the Dallas Cowboys during mandatory minicamp, which is going on right now here at the Star, is about quarterback Dak Prescott and how he's connecting with his receivers now that Amari Cooper's gone. We've already seen how things can shift around at the receiver position. What are your takeaways so far?
Well, the jump out guy to start this minicamp was JALEN, the rookie. And one of the reasons why, not only is Amari Cooper gone and Cedric Wilson's gone, but on this particular day, CeeDee Lamb sat out. Nothing wrong with him, just kind of a Veterans Day on the sideline. And then, as we know, Michael Gallup isn't ready yet as he does his rehab with Britt Brown, the trainer, on the cords, and James Washington still has a little tendonitis in the foot. So somebody had to do something in the Tuesday workout, and that somebody was JALEN, who's worked really hard at bonding with Dak Prescott. And you can see it on the field. You can see them communicating on the field. This thing is going in a good direction.
Oh, how interesting. And Dak Prescott has said that a way that a rookie can get the ball from him is to not drop the ball. It's pretty easy for JALEN then, right?
That'll do it. And of course, CeeDee Lamb, who has a chance at superstardom, but especially in the second half of last year, did have some problems with the dropsies. That's another thing that can be fixed with timing. And this minicamp now will end this week, and then we got 5 weeks till we go to Oxnard. But that doesn't mean that the Cowboys won't keep working on timing. They can go into Dak's backyard and do it if they want to.
Yeah, which we have seen them do.
Yes, they have.
So this season is a big season for Dak Prescott. He says that he always takes pride in getting better each season, but that he's never felt better than he does entering this season. So what does success look like to Dak Prescott this year?
Well, besides the stat stuff, right now it looks like he's a leaner Dak Prescott. He's dropped some weight. He said, when I was in college, I was a meathead. Meaning I wanted to be a big, thick muscle guy, and obviously he's still. I mean, his like you've seen, he's a thick-bodied guy.
He's larger than you would think he is.
Yeah. But to lean down a little bit, to add some flexibility, and then to do something with all this game plan-wise. If he's more athletic than before, more flexible, and completely healthy, can you re-inject Dak Prescott, the runner, into the offense? And the plan is to do that. I have had a lot of Cowboy fans Bree, say to me, why do the Cowboys announce this? Why do they have to say this? And it's a great point. This isn't exactly Bill Belichick, where he just mumbles, it's Tuesday. That's all he'll tell you on a Tuesday. And so maybe it's the great probing media here in DFW.
Oh, wow, a little dust off your shoulder there, huh?
Maybe it's us. But the added element of Dak Prescott, not taking any big risks necessarily, but the element of, there's one more weapon that the defense has to contend with, that's a positive for Dallas.
Yeah, mobility for Dak is huge. We're entering year 3 under head coach Mike McCarthy. Wow, does time fly by?
Yeah.
Are you anticipating any changes this season, whether that be under the offense, the defense, special teams, that we haven't seen yet?
He keeps talking about how that first year, because of COVID, doesn't count, to paraphrase. And then last year, in the offseason, that was still COVID-y. So in a lot of ways, he'll talk about this is this group's first experience doing this. I don't think I'm not buying it completely, because since every team is different, there's a 30% turnover on every roster every year. So every group, it's their first time because the group is new.
Right.
I do think, and this is going to be something that's not going to go away, the Sean Payton, the fact that he hovers out there. Now there's a news story about Sean Payton almost going to the Dolphins for $100 million.
It's a lot of cash.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a little bit, and I think it's a drum worth beating. I don't think it's fair to McCarthy every single time somebody fumbles to say, they should have got Sean Payton. That's not reasonable, and that's not fair. And I also don't think it's fair to Cowboy Nation to do that to yourself, to give yourself an aneurysm over a Sean Payton-related headache over every time something goes a little wrong with the Cowboys. But someday, sometime, eventually, I believe Sean Payton's going to work for the Dallas Cowboys at some time in the future.
Wow, I like that take, Mike. Let's talk about Micah Parsons, Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, you couldn't have higher expectations for him if you tried entering the season. They've already got, him huge at the Star, and
he's a poster guy now.
His jersey's selling everywhere and whatever else. So what does success look like for Micah Parsons this season?
He gives it a number, and he says the number's 20 sacks
Whoa.
You would have to line up at defense. You would have to be a defensive end to get 20 sacks, and he could do that.
Yeah.
But that's
more sacks than the Falcons had last season.
Yeah, and schematically, I mean, that's a Michael Strahan kind of thing where I'm lining up at defensive end and all I do is rush the passer and I don't worry about much anything else. No offense to the Giants and Michael Strahan. 20 sacks is a lofty goal, but he keeps achieving everything he wants to achieve and more. The great question that I'm trying to get with him to ask him is there anything athletically he cannot do? In fact, I'm going to ask him, name me 3 things that you can't do athletically. I don't know that he would. I don't know that he'd come up with 3 because
maybe disc golf.
I bet
he
you
could be good at that.
You know, if you bet him some money, I bet you he'd go get good at it. He wants to get good at bowling.
Right.
We've seen him at the home run derby.
Crushing the ball.
He looked like kind of like a baseball player.
Right.
He has challenged the Warriors, especially Draymond Green, when he struggles to contribute anything. Draymond Green, and he says, "I could do better than that." Well, I went back and looked at high school video of Micah Parsons and some accounts. He was a 6'3", 235-pound center, and he wasn't jumping very high necessarily, but you didn't mess around with him. And then early in the season, he didn't put up numbers, but eventually he started getting double figures in scoring, had 25 points in a game, and so was a good basketball player. So Micah's ceiling doesn't exist, certainly not in his mind.
I love that. Of course, one of the big things that's going on here with the Cowboys is tight end Dalton Schultz and the contract negotiations. Do you think with that July 15th deadline looming that this deal will get done or Dalton will end up playing on the franchise tag?
It's interesting that the Cowboys, and this goes all the way back to 1990 and Jerry Jones first telling it to me, Mr. Mack, deadlines make deals. I think they're going to sit there. I think check back with me on like July 12th.
Yeah.
Now, Dalton Schultz did his little mini holdout for OTAs, but that was a voluntary workout, so there's no penalty in doing that. I don't know that there's much purpose in doing that. The Cowboys already know he wants a long-term contract. And did they hit the accelerator and the panic button all of a sudden? I don't think so. I think they have talked now since then. He, of course, is now participating in this mini camp. There's an argument to be made to say, are you sure Dalton Schultz is a $14 million a year tight end? Because that's the going rate now. Are you sure you want to do that? Is there a more affordable way to get production at tight end? But Dalton Schultz's argument back can be David Njoku just signed with Cleveland for $14 million a year, and his production is about half annually what Dalton Schultz's is. So somebody's going to pay Dalton Schultz $11 million a year someday. The Cowboys have the option, of course, of just sitting on this and saying, let's do this one time, 1 year, and then we'll reevaluate it another time.
Yeah. Mike, you're here at the Star more than anybody, and as mandatory minicamp is going around, there's a ton of whispers in the building. So what has stood out to you as something?
Well, for the first time, the linemen, tight ends, and linebackers had to don a protective helmet above their helmet. It's a big padded helmet. The Great Gazoo, that's before, you don't even know what I'm talking about. The Great Gazoo for you Flintstone fans. So it made their heads look gigantic, but it's a safety thing. And afterwards, Zach Martin joked around. He said, it kind of takes away your swag. It doesn't look very sexy, but
funny for a lineman to say.
Yeah. As if Zach Martin plays with swag, has swag. If that's going to prevent you from getting concussions, headaches, CT, and the rest in practice, in a minicamp practice, then why wouldn't it work in games? And why shouldn't everybody wear them?
Interesting.
If we're going to treat seriously, and of course we have this conversation in the wake of the passing of Marion Barber, if we're going to take seriously this threat to the mental health of players, and we're already admitting that in a minicamp where our heads are just going like this against each other, that padding would help us from getting concussions, why wouldn't we institute the padding all the time? Besides the fact that it doesn't look very swaggy. If it's safe, let's make it safe. Is that a radical thought, or am I being reasonable?
No, my question to you would be, does the outside padding change the way players play at all? Like if you're wearing the outside padding during a game, does that impact the game?
Exactly the same way that players, when they first said you've got to wear knee pads, go, what? Their knee pads, it's as big as a silver dollar.
Yeah.
And some guys take them out. and then they get fined for it or whatever. Hockey players, when they first had to wear helmets. Baseball hitters didn't used to have, again, all this is way before your time, didn't used to wear helmets. Well, was there an adjustment period? Sure. It's weird. I gotta do a what? I gotta wear what? But then you adjust.